All right, welcome everybody. This is a webinar on the web-to-print and automated layout capabilities of the Marketing Content Hub. Before we get started, this webinar is going to be recorded. You can find this webinar and previous webinars on stylabs.com/webinars. We also would like to announce another upcoming webinar on March 17th on mProject, which is the creative collaboration, work in progress, and workflow module within the Marketing Content Hub. My name is Tim Passhuizen. I'm the co-founder and CSO of Stylabs. If you have any questions, there is a little panel in the GoToMeeting app that you can use to ask questions during the webinar. And after the webinar, feel free to reach out to me, tim@stylabs.com, for any further questions you would maybe have. First of all, today we're going to focus on web-to-print, but web-to-print is just a small piece of what the Marketing Content Hub wants to be. And so I'd like to start off with, again, stating the focus that we have here, which is to provide a 360-degree view on all of your marketing content and processes. And then once we gather all of that beautiful information in one place, it obviously makes sense to render it to different channels and formats, including printable materials or electronic documents. Today we're going to review 3 specific use cases, which each have their own merits. The first one is automated layout of structured content. So basically database publishing, where we take structured data, combine it with a template, and then render a document out of that. The second one is web to print, which means that we will again use templates, but we will combine that with some kind of user interaction. User that will use a browser interface to make a selection of images or text, or maybe even input content. And then again, create a ready-to-use piece of collateral. And those both the first and the second use case are going to render this directly to PDF. So the idea is to offer this as a self-service kind of functionality to end users with no specific skills in layout, both technically or aesthetically. And then the third use case is a different one. This is where we will support a more elaborate creative collaboration with, for example, an agency or an internal design studio that will typically use an authoring program such as InDesign or Illustrator. In this case, we'll use InDesign for the sample demo, and where we will combine all of the data, the assets, the images, the media files that we have in the Marketing Content Hub, and use that to facilitate an authoring process in InDesign. So let's get started with our first use case. This is a demo site we created, and we created this for the fictitious case of a wine wholesaler. So the product content that you will see is around wine, and obviously it has assets in there, but it also has product data. So if we go into search, you'll see that we have different content types. There are recipes here, there are campaigns, there are products, and then there are assets and what have you not. But today we would like to start from a product detail page and use that information to generate a piece of printed material. So I'm going to filter on products, and then I'm going to select this wine, the message in a bottle, for my demo. So this is a detail page for a product. It has a product name, it has a product description, and then it has some other data there, like the vintage and the kind of grapes that were used and the vineyard that it was made on. And it has winemaker notes and SKU information and a lot of other stuff. And today I would like to see a selection of this information in a PDF. And so I'm going to go to the top section, and there's a drop down where I can see that I have prepared 3 different templates in my demo. There's a sheet, there's a card, and there's a hanger. So let's start with the sheet. The sheet is basically a US letter kind of format that we prepared. So typically this is maybe something that you would print with an office printer, or you could use it as an electronic distribution document. And you see that we create a fairly B2B kind of product spec sheet. So let's take maybe another sample, a card, which is similar, but a different layout variation. On half that size, which could be a handout or maybe even a piece of point of sales material. And then again, another sample is a hanger card, which is more like an actual point of sales material, which you will also see is also more formatted towards pre-press and less towards electronic distribution, with crop marks and bleed, etc. So the idea is that this is something that you would typically put around the neck of a bottle on the shelf. So what we saw here was that we have structured product information sitting in the Marketing Content Hub. We use a selection of the elements that we have available, which can be both data or images. And we combine that with a predefined layout template into a piece of collateral, which is rendered out in a PDF format. That was use case 1. Use case 2 is slightly different because we will be using user inputs and not so much structured content. So I'm going to go to the print section here, and I've prepared a very straightforward poster template. As you can see, obviously you can have multiple templates, and all of the tooling that you are familiar with from the Marketing Content Hub, the faceted search, the full text search, etc., is available as well. So even if you have 1,000 templates in here, this will still be easy to find through a couple of clicks in the faceted search or the full text search. So let's go into this product poster template, and let's start personalizing this one. So now I've opened it up in edit mode, and you can see that on the left hand side I only have one page for now, but this can perfectly be a multi-page document, like maybe a front and a back for a flyer, or even an 8-page brochure that we lay out in spreads. There's not really a limitation there. And then for every section on the template that is editable, we see one of these pencil icons. And so if I go onto this logo, for example, I can turn this logo on or off. So we already have the Marketing Content Hub logo at the bottom, so I'm not going to co-brand this, so I'm going to turn it off. And as you can see, after making that change, the edit icon turns red. So to make this as snappy as possible, we're not annoying the user with a refresh every time we change something. We're saving those to bundle them in one central refresh. So let me walk through this template, and I'm going to take a little bit of sample content handy here that I can use for copy pasting to make this actually more of an actual example. So this one here allows me to select another visual, and as you can see, we can make a selection out of a predefined list of visuals. It could also be a choice with a larger selection, or even an upload of a user-provided image. But in this case, we have 4 images that we can choose from, which allows you to narrow down what images are used in what context. For example, in the context of a certain campaign or a certain brand or certain markets, you can steer people towards a certain selection. Another content type is an editable field with text, and in this case it's just plain text, no formatting allowed. So let me paste my title here. And then this is yet another content type. This is a selection out of 3 snippets. I have 3 baselines that I can choose from. So let me choose the Empower one. And as you can see, stuff is turning red. And then I'm going to move a little bit quicker. I'm going to change the introduction text here, and then I'm going to change a couple of these content blocks. And as you can see, these content blocks are now formatted text, which supports regular formatting, but it also supports proper headings, etc., which again gives you perfect control over styling, but a lot of flexibility as well. And let's just remove this one because let's say I don't want a third block on this page. So now I've done this, I'm going to go refresh this page, and we're going to get an update back. And if I fit this one, you can see that the changes I've made have been applied. Also good to point out that this is a browser-based preview. It doesn't require any plugins, but it is vector-based. So you can keep zooming in on the fonts and the vector-based content. It will remain crisp. Also, the way for managing these templates is very straightforward. The authoring process is actually through HTML and CSS. So anybody with HTML, CSS skills, typically somebody in a production agency or an internal studio that would do production work on email templates or web design work, can easily create and maintain these templates. So now that I've put in my custom content, I can choose to download this in high res or in low res. So let's, for example, download the high res version. And this is actually the high res PDF that I generated. In this case, without crop marks. But I should point out that although the source for these templates is HTML and CSS, this can be a perfectly validated prepress PDF. It can have bleed and crop marks and embedded fonts and CMYK and high-res images and everything we would typically need in proper print materials. So this is the second use case where we combine a template with some user inputs to create again, a PDF. Again, the user can self-service. There is no technical skill required, no layout skill either. And just a quick glance, this has now become one of the templates that I've worked on. And so this is the section with my publications, where again, I can filter down. Let's say I want to see what I have in US letter, which is only one template in French. And it's a brochure type. And again, this ties in with all of the functionality of the Marketing Content Hub in terms of faceted search, metadata, etc. So that concludes the second use case. And then the third use case is a little bit more sophisticated and different. In the third use case, we want to support the process of creating perhaps a more creative or a more complicated piece of collateral, where we think that creative services will be required, and creative services will be working in Illustrator, or in this case, in InDesign. On the other hand, we will have other people collaborating on providing content. There will be product managers, there will be photographers, there will be art directors, there will be marketing managers, there will be translation agencies that need to provide the raw content, the text, the images that need to go into the layout. So this already gives you a sneak peek of the M project module that we will demo in the upcoming webinar. And let me find my way here. Yeah, there we are. I'm going to go into a project called My Project, and then within that project, I have a job sitting that's called Layouts. And I can see that I've already prepared some work here in the brief section of this job. I have a couple of items that are linked to this job. So there's two logos. We have this one and this one. There's one picture, and there are two text fragments that we will be using. The idea is that this brief section is the outcome of an earlier editorial process where people have been copywriting and creating photography and pulling material from the DAM, like the two logos. And we're currently at the stage where we want the creative services to create a layout based on these raw materials. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a package. And in this case, we're interested, because it's the first export, we're interested in the data and all of the high-res files. So I'm going to download this package now, which presents itself as a zip file. And let me again make some room on the screen. And if I open it up, you'll see that there's a data.xml file in there and a couple of images. And those of you familiar with InDesign will probably see where we're going. This is very close to an InDesign package. So to complement that, I'm going to open up my InDesign template, and I'm going to use only native InDesign client functionality. So again, this is completely in the comfort zone and the standard skill set that you would find in any production agency, any graphical layout services. We only use native InDesign client functionality. There's no InDesign server required. There are no plugins required, no customizations, no specific training needed. So I'm going to say import XML. I'm going to point to the data.xml file that we just downloaded. And what I'm getting here is both the text fragments and the assets that we created in the brief earlier. So I'm going to take these and drag these onto the boxes to place them. The hero image goes into the middle section, and then we have the intro that goes here and the headline that goes here. And this needs to get a proper paragraph style, so let me make this one headline and this one intro. So what happens now is I'm happy. I'm going to just give this a little bit of a tweak, and I'm not necessarily making this look prettier, but just for demo's sake, I'm going to save it and close it again. Now let me get back to my content editorial process, because it's not because we provided this content that it is necessarily final. It could be that we're still validating this with the product manager. It could be that we're still copywriting or even translating this. So let me change this one device for everything in your life, and remove the exclamation mark and put in a full stop. And then go back, and I saw a typo here. And let me change that as well. There needs to be an additional I in office. Saving this back, and this time I can just download the data because I didn't change anything in the assets. Again, let me download this to my desktop. And overwrite the data XML file. Replace. And now when I open up my InDesign file, it's going to ask me if I would like to update the links or not. Yes, please, update the links. And as you can see, the content has been updated with the new content, the dots in the title and the I in the typo of Microsoft Office. So the idea is that we're still within our comfort zone as creative folks. We're not hindered in any way by the automation that is sitting under the hood. But at the same time, the editorial process of providing the correct content, the correct images, and making changes localizing, translating, etc., is streamlined. And we hope that cost goes down, quality goes up, and time to market goes down as well. So this concludes the demo. Let's see if we already have any questions here. And if not, don't be shy. We still have a couple of minutes left, and we're more than happy to take questions now. So maybe while we wait for some more questions, a couple of questions that came up from previous sessions. There was a concern about the production of this, because people are used to having some trouble tying all of this together from an operational point of view. What is very important and dear to us is that we facilitate rather than that we make things more difficult. And so the skill set to produce these templates and to maintain them in the long run is really standard market available skills around HTML, CSS on the one hand, and InDesign on the other hand. For InDesign, it's very clear, it's standard InDesign, not even a plugin is used. For the HTML, it is a bit novel that we use HTML and CSS to end up with a print layout, but the large benefit there is that there's a growing community of people that are available in that market. And HTML gives you flow layouts. And in the web to print space and in the database publishing space, the flow layout, which means that items can expand and can automatically push down other content that is on the layout, is a huge win over the absolutely positioned layout that we saw in the earlier days when, for example, using InDesign Server. All of this content can obviously be generated one by one as part of a user interaction, but it can also be part of a maintenance job. So you could easily create a catalog of products where you want product sheets to be generated, and then maybe pushed to downstream systems or to apps or to downstream systems feeding apps, etc. So there's a multitude of ways that we can use the content we generate here, and a multitude of ways of how we can embed this in a more overall process. All right, so again, please have a look at stylehouse.com/webinars. This webinar will be on there shortly if you want to share this with any of your colleagues maybe, or have another look. And also have a look at the announcement for the March 17th M Projects webinar, which will probably be a bit longer because there's quite a bit to tell about M Project. M Project is the part of the Marketing Content Hub that provides functionality around creative collaboration, work in progress, and workflow. So thank you for attending, and see you in one of our next webinars.